Dr. Sanjeev Bandi is a passionate Mackay urologist and one of Australia's most dedicated fundraisers for Movember. Individually, he has raised more than $400,000 since 2008 and as captain of the moving Mackay Cricket team, more than $500,000 since 2011. I caught up with Dr. Bandi, who shared some insight into his motivation for the passion behind his fundraising. I hope you enjoy listening to Dr. Bandi's story as much as I did. He is a very funny man.
I'm talking to you from outer space.
Oh my goodness, thank you for coming all this way. I can't believe it. I'm wondering, did you go on a Virgin spacecraft to outer space?
No. I guess Elon Musk sent 3 astronauts up there, so you can think I'm one of them and talking to you from the space station. These are all the stuff that I 3D printed. So let me see. Where's my camera? There.
Ah, very good.
I've got them in every color.
Very, very nice. Very nice.
There's a silver one too.
I guess some people who can't grow moustaches have to use those. I'd have to use those.
I try and create stuff like these are all some of the stuff that I've done. So I use all my creations as talking aids basically. So if people see this on somebody, they say, where did you get it? And then it starts the conversation on men's health. So I've made bow ties. So all the older men who do woodwork in Mackay, I've got them to do me wooden bow ties. So
wow.
For women, I created, for the women in my group, I created, let me show you, scarves with moustaches. So for summer, I've even created wrap-arounds that they can use around the pool with every moustache on it. Some I've done moustaches and lips so that the women don't feel out of place. So it's a bit feminine as well. So you do anything to start a conversation. So,
where do people buy all that stuff from, Dr. Bandi? Through your office?
I make them. I just give them away.
Very good.
I get it made and I give them away. So that way I spread the word. That's my quirky way of spreading the word. So.
Yeah. You're a very passionate man.
I think the support has been incredible. I mean, I can't believe like yesterday, I haven't had time. Today I'll put it. So yesterday we became the first team in Australia to go past 50,000. And we only 14 of us. That's just crazy. We are the 4th best team in the world and the highest fundraising team in Australia. And we 14 blokes and 3 women. So that's not bad.
You must be a great motivator.
No. I mean, motivation is not, I mean, for me, it's the thing that has really endeared me a lot is the fact that every year the support has got better and better and better and better. I mean, I could not believe that 3rd of August, I became the first person in this country to have individually raised 400,000. I mean, that won't happen if the community didn't think what I was doing was right. I mean, I've been doing it since 2008. The last 5-6 years, even without COVID, hasn't been Mackay's greatest years because with the downturn in the coal industry, Mackay took a fairly bad hit in the last 5-6 years. And in the last 5-6 years, I've been Australia's highest fundraiser by a country mile. So that doesn't make any sense. how is it that I am able to raise that much of money when economically the town hasn't been doing that well? And it also makes it very special because it's a month before Christmas. So things are still tight for a lot of people, but they're still willing to support the cause, which is incredible. I mean, 2018, I think we raised 91,000, which is just ridiculous. Last year we weren't that bad, but we ended up with 74. Even that 3 weeks before Christmas is a pretty amazing effort. And now we're only 20th of November, and we've already gone past 50,000. So I don't know where we'll end up this year. And we are in the midst of a pandemic, and we still putting in the hard yards. So for me, that says a lot about the community. The community support here has just been incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take Movember Cricket Association, because that was started in 2011 by Cricket Australia and me as captain of Mackay Cricket Club. We have, I think, now 153 teams, 670 members. We've just raised a little under 150,000, and we've already raised 50 of it. So more than 33% of the funds raised by the Movember Cricket Associations come from Mackay, from us. And I think the Australian men's and women's cricket team have raised 19. We are 31,000 ahead of them.
Yeah.
That's just madness.
So
they have a bigger support structure than us. We just 14 ordinary blokes and women from Mackay. So,
yeah. Where does your support mainly come from? Mackay or the greater
Mackay and Whitsundays. Mackay and Whitsundays, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I keep saying this is God's country. I mean, I wouldn't live anywhere else. I mean, the support I've had here for 13 years, I mean, it's overwhelming and it's also humbling too. I mean, it's, I guess, indirect confirmation to me that whatever I'm doing is well respected or thought of highly among the people of this city. I mean, why would anybody support it if they didn't think it was worth it?
So what do you do to fundraise, Dr. Bandi? Like, is it...
Nothing.
Nothing. Just have...
the last 2 years, 2018, 2019, I ran the New York Marathon as part of the Movember team. Otherwise, it's whoever comes to see me donate, or they donate online because they already know the link. As of last count this year, I think I've got 444 donors who have made up the, I don't know, as of now, let me have a look and see how much individually I've raised. So individually I've raised 41,365 now. So that's made up of 444 donations this year.
Wow.
And the team now stands at 5,543. So
that is just amazing. And I mean, you must be so well known and well respected for people to get behind you like that. And you obviously...
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people actually think I do it a lot for testicular cancer and prostate cancer. I mean, fine, I'm a urologist. I deal with that all the time. But I think the biggest issue in this country, especially now with COVID and probably for the next 3 to 5 years, is going to be mental health and suicide. I mean, it's just ridiculous, the suicide figures everywhere. It's just, if you take Mackay, even though it's such a caring community that has supported me incredibly well all these years, has the highest rate of youth suicide in the country. It's 8.9 times the national average. That's just crazy. How do you have a statistic like that in a caring community like ours? I have no words to describe. I really don't know the answer. My only answer, and this is the other problem with people taking their own lives. the registry that actually tells us so many people have died, I think it's only the tip of the iceberg, because there is so much of, what shall I say, um, people feeling ashamed that one of their loved ones actually took their lives. They don't even say that it was a suicide. It just gets brushed under the carpet. And we actually don't know whether that was a suicide or not. And that's where I think um, society's attitudes towards suicide has to change. We all keep saying commit suicide as if they committed a crime. If any crime was committed, it was society that didn't actually realize what they were going through. For somebody to think this is the last resort and take their own lives is not committing. For me, the crime that was committed was society not not lending a helping hand and helping them out. So I think the phrase committing suicide has to actually change. They took their own life. Committing suicide implies that they've actually committed a crime. I don't think that's right.
Mm.
Um,
So is the
so
average,
we,
are they young people on average that
yes,
take?
yeah. So you are taking youth suicide means anybody between the ages of 14 and 55, and we have that's I'm calling men of reasonable age, and we've got one of the, I mean, we're not as bad for the amount of population we have in this country. I still think it's bad, but I 6 years ago, to actually help raise awareness of this, Movember came up with a very, very good sort of a awareness campaign where we actually laid empty shoes in Vancouver, Dublin, San Francisco, New York, Bondi Beach. The number of shoes we laid out was the number of people who had committed suicide in a month in that particular country. And we actually got an award for that, for the best short film with the largest impact. And it's available on YouTube, and I can send you the link. And it's very, very powerful. And it's so this year, that was the other campaign. We were trying to get people to at least walk 60 Ks for the 60 men who lose their lives every day worldwide. So, I mean, I think in Australia, every 6 seconds or something, we lose a life. That's just madness.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, especially when we have so much opportunity and there's so much support, and there's actually a lot of education now around mental health, isn't there?
Yeah, but it's not just mental health. It's not just depression, suicide. It's bullying. There's a lot of things. I mean, like 2 years ago, we had a 14-year-old here in Mackay who his father works at the mines, and he told him on the Friday that he was being bullied at school, and the dad basically told him that he had to be a man and just grow up. And they couldn't find him on Saturday, and they searched around, and finally they found him hanging inside the walk-in wardrobe, and he hung himself with his father's belt. It takes a lot of guts for a 14-year-old boy to hang himself.
Mm-hmm.
So if he couldn't even get the support from his own next of kin, then there's something radically wrong. We even this month, I mean, I go to schools and talk. I mean, a few years ago, I went to Serena and spoke to the school kids, year 12s, and I asked them a simple question. I asked them how many of them, we were all in the auditorium standing in a straight, I got them to stand in a straight line, and I said, how many of you have cried in the last week and not one stepped out? I said, how many of you have cried when nobody was looking? And about 10 or 12 of them stepped forward. And I said, why didn't you step forward when I asked you the first time? And they said we were too shy to say. And I said, I watch a movie, I probably cry 7 or 8 times. It's a natural, normal emotion. What are you trying to hold back? This macho image that the Australian man doesn't cry is a fallacy. That's a joke. I mean, how can you not cry? You cry, laugh. That's a normal emotion. You can't tell boys if they cry they're a wuss or something. That's just crazy. And it's very, very artificial. You're actually trying to curtail their normal emotions, and when faced with difficulty, they just fall apart. I mean, I find it really weird that in a country that was built on hard yakka and on the Anzac spirit, we're breeding a generation of, I don't know, people who wilt at the smallest hurdle. I mean, young guys just commit suicide because their girlfriend left them or something. I mean, come on, for heaven's sake, live a life, get on with it. It's not the end of the world.
I think as parents, you know, we really have such an important task to teach our kids, our boys, that it's okay to show emotion and to cry if they, because, gosh, it will save so many pent-up problems later on in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be open. And, I mean, the average Australian man doesn't even talk, which is even more crazy.
Dr. Bandi, where does your motivation come from for your passion? Like, do you think it's stems from being a urologist?
No, I mean, I've been in this country 30 years. Like the way, I mean, like when I ran the New York Marathon, it was, so at that time, I'd been a Mobro for 11 years. 2017, the New York Marathon team had raised $77,000 US. In 2018, with me in it, we raised, I think, 293,000.
Holy smokes!
And last year, what happened was one of the team members, so I dropped from 95 to 74.9, and I've kept it around the same. Last year, in June, July, one of the boys who was going to run Berlin and New York twisted his ankle, and they knew I'd always be keen to run. The year before, in 2018, at 57, I was the oldest person to have ever run a New York Marathon for Movember. And I also became the person who raised the highest that ever.
So how difficult, were you a runner before, Dr. Bandi? How difficult was it for you to train for that?
I just trained for 6 months. I just stayed focused and trained, and I did it. I mean, last year was even more funny because the previous year I was large and I became smaller, but I continued to train. So my Lululemon shorts were XL, but by the time I ran 2019, I was a medium. So I had to tie the shorts as tight as possible on my waist. But what happened was, because it was so tight, about 1.5 to 2 kilometers down the race, the cords came off. So I actually had to hold on to my shorts and run 41 Ks. It just drove me insane. I gave myself a wedgie for the whole marathon, because if I took my hands off, my shorts fell off. I even tried, because I wore the, lycra undergarments. At one stage, I was so fed up, I took my shorts and tucked it in one of those toilets and ran, but then the number thingy kept bouncing on my genitals and it looked awful. So I actually ran back 300 meters back to the toilet found my shorts and put it back on. And lots of people were wondering what the hell was I doing running backwards in a marathon. But these things happen. I still finished. I still got my medal. Then I decided I'm quitting because 2018 was the world's largest finished marathon. So 99.6% of all the starters finished in 2018, whereas 2019 New York Marathon, we had, I think, 54,363. That's the largest marathon ever in living memory. So I've run 2 marathons and they're both world records. So that's it. Time for me to quit.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So will you keep running now, like the training to keep yourself fit?
Yeah. I mean, I'm fit now, so I just do core training and just keep fit. That's all. I haven't put on any weight. I just try and stay trim because I shed nearly 23 kilos.
Yeah.
So I've stayed the same.
Yeah. That's great. Dr. Bandi, you grew up in India, and you said you've been out here for 30 years?
Yep, I came here in 1990. Boxing Day 1990, I set foot in Australia.
And what prompted you to come to Australia in particular?
If you take urology training, Australia has probably got the best urology training in the world. And I did my Australian Part 1 in Kuala Lumpur. And every time I applied for the job, they kept telling me that I wasn't here, so they couldn't give it to me. So I went to Ireland, got my surgical fellowship, and then I got a job as the 3rd surgeon in Swan Hill in Victoria. And that's how I came to this country. So I went and set up the unit in Dubbo for 3 years, and then there was a need for somebody here. There was nobody in Mackay. So I came here in 98. And I'll probably die here. I won't leave this place. So I've been in Mackay 23 years.
What was your childhood like? And I imagine it would have been a very different life coming to Mackay, such as, you know.
I don't think so. Weather-wise, it's more or less the same. I mean, Dad was a self-made salesperson. I guess he worked for automotive industry. He led lots of delegations to Australia with the Colombo plan. I'm the only son. I have 2 sisters. They're both in the US. The US never fascinated me. In medicine, we are 181 of us in our batch, and I think we've lost 6, so we are 175, but we still keep fairly close. I come from a school batch, so the school I went to in Chennai is the same school as the current CEO of Google. So we are 30. In fact, on Saturday we got another Zoom meeting. We were 32 of us, and we've lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We 25 of us still left. And we still have Zoom meetings every 3-4 months. We still keep in touch. So it's been fairly, I mean, my upbringing has been fairly close. And the comradeship and camaraderie that I've had, lots of my classmates still laugh because I went and trained in Ireland, and then I came here, and I've never had a drink in my life. They can't believe that I've lived in Ireland and Australia, and I still haven't had a single drink. They think I'm a lunatic that way, but I mean, my attitude has always been, why should I drink? I mean, growing up in Chennai, I can guarantee you I probably had the best social life of any of my peers when I was growing up, because nearly every girl's mother in town knew that I didn't drink. So if there was a party in town, I had to take the girls to the party and bring them back. So there was not a party in town I wasn't invited to, because if I didn't show, the girls didn't show. So to this day, I've never understood why people actually drink, because they're the ones who missed out. I had all the fun.
You would have been very, very popular amongst all those teenage girls' mothers.
Yeah, I mean, even like 20. This is a true incident. This is 2012. Yeah, 2012. So I left India 1987. So it's 25 years. Um, at that time, I wasn't married to my partner. At that time, I was only engaged, and mom and dad come from a very traditional, and they didn't want us to stay with them when we weren't married. So we stayed in the boat club, and we spent the whole day with mom and dad in our house. But we'd come back at night to the boat club, and we came down for breakfast. And in the other table, there was this tall girl with her husband and two children, and she kept on looking at me. And then after a while, she walked across and she said, "Oh, so my name is Sanjeev Bandi, but everybody called me Bunty, Bunte. That was my nickname." And she said, "Bunty, is it you?" And I hadn't seen her. So 87, I left. So she was my modeling partner, 85. So that would have been 2012, 27 years.
Wow.
And she said, and I said, yes. She said, "Do you know who I am?" And I hadn't the foggiest idea, because her hair color had changed, and she had a nose ring, and she looked different. But she reminded me of an incident. So while you model clothes, you come back into a small cubicle, you change into the next set of clothes, and you go back on stage. And one of those modeling trips when we did, so it's a small cubicle, but she faces one side, I face one side. We quickly change and go. And it so happened that she had a cockroach on her dress, and she ran out of the bloody cubicle yelling, "Cockroach, cockroach." And I just walked out zipping up my fly, and everybody cracked up and said, "What cockroach is she talking about?" Anyway, so Margot remembered this, and she said, "You remember the cockroach incident?" And I said, "Don't tell me you're Margot." And she said, "Yes." And then she introduced me to her husband and her children, and said that we were modeling partners 27 years ago. And I said, "How did you pick me? Because I've changed, I think, anyway. I wasn't." She said, "Your voice hasn't changed. You're exactly the same. That's how I picked you. Your voice is exactly how it's been all these years." So I've had few incidents like this that really really shocked me, because a lot of people, when I go home, pick me out of the blue, walk up and talk to me, and they always say I haven't changed. Maybe I've grown gray or something, but they feel my voice and everything else is the same.
Now, I just want to ask you about growing your moustache. Do you start clean shaven at the beginning of November?
Yep.
You do?
On the first.
Okay. So
every year it's been a different. Every year it's been a different design. Not one moustache is the same. In 2016, I actually had 3 M's. M here and an M on either side. M for Movember, M for Men's Health, and M for Mackay. But I really looked like a Colombian drug lord. Or at least that's what I thought I looked like. You can decide what you think I look like. I'll show it to you. Look at that for a moustache.
Oh my gosh. Did you dye that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dyed it to give that look. I look like a rap star. Wait, that's how the moustache was. 3 M's. I told you I look scary.
You could have been a hairdresser, you know, if you hadn't been a urologist.
I told you it was pretty impressive. Look at that. So Cricket Australia actually invited me to go down to the Boxing Day test, and I show you what I did.
You look like Merv Hughes.
Yeah. So I did the walk to the G with Merv Hughes. So there's the cricket balls in between. Looks like stumps. This year is in the form of a W, if you can look at it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's a W. It's because it's upside down M, and it's also W for Whitsunday and W for Wuhan. So I won't forget 2020. So every year it's a different design. Always it's been some form of a M.
Thank you, Dr. Bandi. Thank you very, very much.
No problem. Thanks a million.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much for watching our video. I hope you enjoyed it. And please try to remember to just click on the subscribe button so we can keep you updated with everything that's happening. Thank you.